single day I'm gonna make something great. That's my way. Every single day I'm gonna make.
Hi everyone, Dr. Tovar here with another episode of Naked TikTok with Dr. Tovar. I am so happy to have another guest, and today I have a male. Yes. Oh, he's watching, so I'm going to let him introduce himself. Let me add him because I know this is going to go really smoothly as usual. Let's see. Bring him on. This is a very passionate leader in our profession, and I'm very curious to learn a little bit more about the zone technique. And we're gonna just have a raw talk as usual, and we'll surprise you with some questions probably, because I love for this kind of interviews to be very spontaneous and to be very casual, just to be able to produce some material for you guys and for you to get to know people in a different manner than you have gotten it so far. So we are adding him on. If you're there, definitely say hi, thumbs up if you can hear me. I'm trying a different setup today, so I'm not sure if you can hear me well, but hopefully you can. So put thumbs up if you can hear me, and if you're there, say hi, tell me where you're watching from, and if you want me to ask any particular questions to Dr. Peter Goldman. Yes, I have it. And yeah, I'm trying to add him here. Let's see if I added him. No answer from the video guest. Okay, let me go back and bring them on the camera. Peter, I'm trying to add you. So hopefully you accept. Oh yes, this is always fun. There we go. Oh, can you hear me?
I hear you and see you, yes.
Okay, awesome. Well, welcome. It's my pleasure to have you. I know you have done a lot of these different interviews, and for the people that don't know you, because I don't have the pleasure of knowing you personally, so this is going to be just as good for me as it is for the audience. So tell them a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in practice, where do you practice, where are you from, something you would like people to know.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, let me answer your question. So I'm born and raised in New York City. That's where I'm from. I currently practice in San Francisco. I think we were classmates because I graduated Life East in September '97. So
Oh, wow.
we must have walked by each other in the hall quite a bit.
December '97, yeah.
So and I do kind of unique type of chiropractic, and you can ask me all about it, and I'm happy to tell you all about it.
Yeah, I heard a lot about this, and I know we chatted before being interviewed, because I always like to either know my guests personally. I don't think I have ever interviewed somebody that I have never met. So you are my first. Go for first. I've never met you, or I don't remember the pleasure of meeting you while in school. And I wanted to check out the technique before, but I wasn't able to get in touch with the person that practices around me, because I'm very curious about the zone technique. And I know that it is different, and it is something you're very passionate about, and you want to gift us with it. So can you tell us the short version of what the zone technique is?
Sure. Okay, so let me start by saying that there was a chiropractor named Dr. Thurman Fleet, and he practiced in San Antonio, Texas in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, around there. And Dr. Fleet was so amazing in his results that the police in San Antonio had to reroute traffic patterns in order to accommodate the people coming to see Dr. Fleet. And it wasn't like he was having a special event. He was just open. He's like, oh, today my hours are whatever, 1 to 5. And the police were out there rerouting traffic patterns pretty much daily. He also had to move his office 3 times because he kept breaking fire codes by having too many people in his waiting room in his office. He's a spectacular doctor. Of course, I respect all the greats: D.D. Palmer, B.J. Palmer, Clarence Gonstead, Clay Thompson, et cetera, all the greats. And Dr. Fleet is easily on that list, and my personal on the top. But anyway, so When I got to chiropractic, well, let me go back a little bit. When I grew up in Brooklyn, I grew up in a very naturally oriented family, and we didn't really go to MDs for anything. So my doctor was basically a chiropractor, and my doctor, who was a chiropractor, was a direct student of Dr. Fleet. And where I'm from in Brooklyn, he was just forget Brooklyn, even New York City. He was a living legend, this guy, and people came to him for anything and everything. I mean, obviously, if someone's bleeding, they need stitches, they went to the emergency room. Or if someone, had a burst appendix, go to the emergency room and get your life saved. But outside of that, people came to my chiropractor for anything and everything, kind of like old school D.D. Palmer style. So I was inspired to become a chiropractor because of him. And when I got to chiropractic school, I didn't find that the kind of chiropractic that I grew up with is what I was exposed to there. I'm not saying it didn't exist there, but I was a very curious person, which I still am. And I went to like the Gonstead Club and the Thompson Club and the Mopal Club and Emotion Palpation, CBP and Network and Upper Cervical. And I really explored things. And I hadn't really seen anything like what I grew up with. Even though I was a healthy kid, I just went because I was an athletic kid. I got banged around for things like that. But I knew in his office people would come for their immune system and, Crohn's disease and people who couldn't get pregnant or, thyroid disorders or even severe diseases. Even though people talked a lot about the philosophy of like being nervous system doctors and stuff, when I would go and visit the local chiropractors who spoke at the adjusting clubs because I was very curious. And I noticed that most of the people in their office were there for neck and back pain. So I was a little confused by that. So I called my chiropractor back in Brooklyn. I'm like, hey, what's going on? This, your office, a few people come for neck and back pain, but people come to you for everything. And I find that when I'm seeing here, I don't see that. He said, look, Pete, there's another chiropractor like me, not like me, I mean, like him. He was talking about himself, who is trained by Dr. Fleet. And he is not affiliated with your school, but he's in Georgia, about 45 minutes from your school. So give him a call and see, maybe he'll help you and teach you. So I called him up, and he was about probably close to 80 years old, and he had been practicing, for 45 years or whatever. And he was a student of Dr. Fleet, and he had one of those practices where people came to him for epilepsy and diabetes and all this stuff. So I went out to him on a Sunday. Well, I called him up, and his wife said, look, he's kind of semi-retired, but he practices out of the house. You can come down and visit him on a Sunday. So, you were in life with me. So it was, you might know the town. It was called Tyrone, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes from Marietta. I never heard of it, of course, but this was before GPS. We went to school, there was no GPS. So I called his wife, and she gave me directions. And I drove out on a Sunday morning, and I met him. And he was a disciple of the great Dr. Fleet, And he went to Palmer. I think he went to Palmer when B.J. Palmer was the president. So he learned from B.J. Palmer and Dr. Fleet. And he sat me down, and he said something to me that I never forgot. He said to me this. He said, do you want to know why healing works when it works? And do you want to know why healing doesn't work when healing doesn't work? Regardless if it's upper cervical, Logan, Thompson, Network, zone therapy, which Dr. Fleet taught, or homeopathy or acupuncture or whatever. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, I was in prereqs at the time. I didn't really understand anything. So I said, yeah, I'd like to know that, but I didn't really understand what was going on. And he said to me, well, I'm going to explain it to you, which he did. And he proceeded for the next hour to explain that to me. And I'm not sure I understood a word he said, but I liked him. And after he just bewildered me with all this high-level metaphysical stuff for an hour, which was way over my head, I liked the vibration, but I didn't quite understand what he said. He said to me, do you want to...
Now, I was just going to ask you, so what would you think? I know you're talking about your belief system. the belief that that would be the different thing. So what would you think the zone technique is? How is it different to every other technique out there? If you had to pinpoint one thing, what would it be?
Okay, so well, that's easy. Results is that's as easy as it gets. I mean, people fly into me from all over the world for a reason, for results. People drive 5 hours each way to see me for results. I mean, people come to me who, you know, I've had strokes and they're basically a vegetable, and then within a few months, they almost seem like they didn't have a stroke. People come to me whose doctor said it would be a miracle, that's the word, to get pregnant, and they come to me for 3 weeks and get pregnant. People come who have IBS and Crohn's disease, and then they have perfect digestion, and the list goes on and on. So what makes it different is the results. That's easy. And you sit in my waiting room and you ask everyone, hey, what are you here for? And that's what they're there for. I mean, a couple of people come for neck and back pain, and I have people flying in from all over the world for musculoskeletal too, who are told they definitely need neck surgery. They've been to 4 chiropractors, no one can help them, and they never get neck surgery or low back surgery with any disc problem. So the results is different. And by the way, I'm doing it just with my hands, 2 minutes, and a flat bench. So I'm not using any acupuncture needles, any herbs, homeopathy, modalities, anything. It's me, a flat bench, my hands, and 2 minutes. So that's what's different.
Would you say it's a system of analysis or is a system of adjusting? Is it something that you need to master in order to understand and be able to practice it to your patients? How would you describe that?
It's a system of analysis and adjustment, but you can use whatever adjustment technique you want. You could be a hard adjuster, a soft adjuster. You could use instruments, which I don't, but you could. It doesn't make a difference. It's a way to determine exactly what's happening in the body, and it's a way to know where to stimulate the spinal cord to heal the brain. And that, you know, the whole safety pin cycle is interesting because a safety pin cycle is an implication that the brain is sending out the right signals. And then when you put the bones back in place and relieve the subluxations, you let the nerves flow properly to the cells of the body. The assumption there is that the brain is sending out the right signal in the first place, but my technique does not make that assumption. We say the brain may be unbalanced to begin with, and even if you relieve every subluxation in the spine, which is a whole different conversation because the inter-examiner reliability of subluxation detection and relief is like 0%, but that's a different conversation. But even if someone is quite good at relieving subluxations in a very valid way, if the brain's sending out the wrong signal in the first place, all you've done is open up the pathway from the brain to the cells with possibly a faulty signal. So the zone technique, which makes it different, is in 20 seconds, I can tell you what parts of the brain don't work right, and I can show you where to stimulate the spinal cord to fix the brain.
And so is it a pre and post check kind of system? So you can see exactly if you have actually cleared?
Totally. You feel occipital fibers. Don't get confused with SOT. It's got nothing to do with SOT. Nothing. A lot of people say, oh, you feel in the back of the head.
I'm just trying to pinpoint, obviously, and I think we have had this conversation, and I'm just very curious about it. That's why I wanted to get adjusted, and that's why I agreed to having this chat with you, even though I've never met you. I'm going against my own rules, but I'm trying to visualize. So there is pre and post checks, and obviously the technique will explain how to do the assessment, so you know exactly where you have to put your contact, whichever technique you wish to use, and then there is a post check. Whether, you know, like my post check is leg check, right? And we know how that can be, right? But that is how I practice. So I imagine there's some kind of a post check for you. And you said the whole thing takes only 2 minutes?
Yeah. I feel the back of the head. It tells me exactly what's happening in the brain. I stimulate the spinal cord in specific places. I recheck the back of the head to make sure the brain is healing and sending out the right signals to the body. And that's the pre and post check. And again, you know, as far as a patient, like if a patient came to me and said, hey, Dr. Pete, look, I've had migraine headaches for 10 years. I have migraine headaches 7 days a week. I've been to 3 chiropractors, 2 acupuncturists, a homeopath, a naturopath, an MD, and my head is freaking killing me every day. Nothing works. How long should I come? How do I know when I get better? Well, of course, on the pre and post check, every time they come in, I will check their head. I'll see what's happening in their brain. I'll balance out their brain, and I'll make sure their body gets balanced. But for them, I'd say you'll come until you can tell me your head feels perfect 24/7. Because if you're having headaches 7 days a week, well, I want you to come to me until you can tell me my head feels perfect all the time. And in the meantime, I'll be checking my own parameters to make sure their body's balanced.
So, and thank you. Hi to the people that are watching. Say hi. If you have any questions for Dr. Peter, please post them there because I could read the comments and I could ask him and we can get this conversation even more interesting because I'm asking questions because I'm very curious about it. And so when you're saying that, yeah, we can do the pre and post check, and I'm sure there's something that we're feeling on the brain that is letting us know go or stop, right? So you're just telling me right now that you will keep adjusting until the patient tells you I'm clear of my symptomatology. But how about if they are not clear of the symptomatology, but your checkup tells you do not adjust today?
Good question. I know that's big in chiropractic, especially upper cervical with the instrumentation. I've been practicing for a long time. I've never found that. It's a cool little thing to think, but it ain't like that if you really understand what's going on. But that's a separate conversation. But let me just say this. I do not treat symptoms. I do not treat disease. I do not diagnose or treat. I'm a straight up chiropractor. I strictly go off the back of the head until the person is balanced. I'm just saying that a person who's freaking suffering every day, and then 2 months later, they never have a headache again for the rest of their life. That's what I'm looking for. Or if a person says, listen, I have horrible digestion. Every time I eat food, I'm bloated. Well, come to me for 2 months or a month, and guess what? You'll eat whatever you want. I mean, within reason, of course, and you'll digest it perfectly. So I'm looking for the before and after with the patient was suffering, and now they have a body which works great and feels great. But of course, I'm a chiropractor. Of course, I'm using my parameters to do what I got to do.
You just gave me that. I had to ask because I know that if it goes through my mind, it goes through the audience minds too. So people are saying hi, they're saying awesome stuff, but they're not posting questions. So I'm just having the questions that I'm like, okay, so in my mind, this is a before and after, and they are like, they are clear, but they still feel the symptomatology. Should I keep on going or not? I am very curious about this. I don't know where you're at, but I'm going to go visit you in San Francisco because I really want to learn. Okay, so I know this is a course that you sell, and it's kind of an online course. However, would I be able, okay, and I'm playing devil's advocate on every single question, so I know probably I have the answer to, but I just need to post it out there so people can clear it in their head. Would I be able to learn this technique just by watching a video on, or how would I know I'm feeling the right thing?
Great question. My online class is straight up online. I have 160 students all over the world. These people, and I'll answer your question. That's what I say. These people say things like, hey, Dr. Pete, I was ready to hang it up. I was frustrated with chiropractic. Now I can't wait to go to work. Or, hey, Dr. Pete, you know, I wanted to do more for my patients. So I took a lot of classes in AK, functional medicine, chiropractic neurology. Now I took your course. I spend 1/10 of the time with a patient and I get 100 times better results. So yes, you can learn it 100% online. I happen to be, I'm actually doing a live event in Atlanta in December, but it doesn't even make a difference. I have people in Europe, all over the world, who are getting spectacular results, or people who say, Pete, I heard chiropractic could create miracles, but I never really saw them. Now they say they get miracles in their office every week. So yes, online, you will learn everything. And I have a part of the school, when you sign up, anyone who wants to, you go to zonetechnique.com, zonetechnique.com. Everything you need to know is there. You can sign up. I have 100% money back guarantee. People don't like my class, it's free. And when you sign up for the class, you have instructional videos, which you have lifetime access to, and you have my weekly live Q&As, and you can ask me whatever you want. So everything's taken care of online. And you're more than welcome to come to San Francisco, and I'll teach it to you. And you can be,
Yeah, I'm so curious about it, really. I've told you this. I know we had this conversation in private, and I told you, oh my God, I'm just so curious. I really want to know more. That's why I wanted to get adjusted by it, and I just wanted to feel it because this is the kind of personality I am. I love to experience things. I'm not very much I don't learn from a video too much as I learn as when somebody is one-on-one on me, right? So that's just how it is. But I am sure it's amazing, and we're going to put the link right below as well. And now, because I know we've been talking about this for a while, can you share with us something, I guess, for our audience, whether it is students or chiropractors or just lay people? Would you share what is your biggest win and biggest fall in your life, whether it is biggest win, it could be personal, it doesn't need to be chiropractic, because my thing is Naked Talk, it's about relationships, it's about living your best life and having some balance, so you actually work on your heart account, which is those relationships around you and the thing that really fulfills your purpose. So can you let us know what is your biggest win and your biggest drawback, or whatever, what do you call
My
which I don't think that we have any, but okay.
my biggest win, when I graduated chiropractic school, I moved back to New York City, where I'm from. I opened an office in Manhattan, which was very, very successful. And I opened my office right across the street from the World Trade Center, right across the street from the World Trade Center. And I mean, like a few feet away from the World Trade Center. So on 9/11, the World Trade Center basically fell on my office. So I lived, because here I am. And I decided, you know what, even though I'm born and raised in New York, I love New York, I have a spectacular practice in Manhattan, I'm just going to move to California. And I moved to California. I didn't know anyone there. I had no friends in California, no connections, nothing. And I said to myself, and when I first got to California, I was living in a freaking hotel with a rent-a-car. And I said to myself, I was there for like a day or two. It was less than a month after 9/11. I said, in the not too distant future, every chiropractor in the world is going to know my name. And I'm going to have I'm going to be doing spectacular stuff that people never heard of. And, that was my image. That's a big win. My biggest loss, I think, I don't know why this popped in my head when you said it. It's really out of context, but I'll just say it. I used to be a full contact karate fighter. If anyone, you probably don't, but Kyokushin karate is, real deal fighting. It's not like Karate Kid where you're playing tag. It's like you go in the ring and you're trying to knock each other out cold. It's real fighting. And I was really good at that back in the day. And you have, there are tournaments, so you have fights and you keep going and going and going. But by the time you get to your third or fourth fight, you might have like a broken rib or whatever. You're all banged up because there's no pads and you are trying to knock the person out. It's pretty rough stuff, but anyone could Google Kyokushin karate if they want to see it. But anyway, I was pretty high level. I was on an elite team of fighters back in the early 90s, and I was at a tournament. It was on TV. It was, it was a major international tournament. And I had a couple fights, won the fights, and I went to the semifinals against one of the best fighters in the world, and I lost the fight, which I don't mind losing, but I really remembered I kind of lost before I went in. I was kind of afraid of him, and he was also a dirty fighter, and I was afraid he was going to do dirty stuff, and I had a really bad mindset. And, once in a while that day, that was October 1991, but once in a while that day pops in my head, and I think I should have fought that fight much differently. And that's probably my biggest loss. That at least pops in my head when you ask the question. I haven't thought of that in a long time, but when you said it, it popped in my head.
Yeah, I remember, I know this is unscripted, just so everybody knows, I like to ask questions out of the left field just because that's how we get our true identity forward. And that obviously is my brand with Get Naked, right? It's just to removing all the layers so we can let our light shine and not live with regret or resentments, and live our true purpose, which I feel you're definitely doing. And I know I was listening to your story in 1991. Wow, I graduated high school that year. And I don't think that was a loss, because obviously I teach that as well. I think everything teaches us, hence how you have dedicated part of your career also to helping athletes and helping people, right? That are hurt. So it was a big win for you. I see your biggest flaw, both of them. I mean, the biggest win also with 9/11, that was a big blessing. You were able to move and start over and be bigger than you were ever before. So everything that has happened to us definitely is there to teach us. And I think the biggest regret is when we don't learn the lesson. And I don't think you did that. So I don't see that as a loss, but I'm glad you went there and you shared something personal with us, because my next question is, would you want to share anything else that we would not know about you? Because I know that a lot of people have interviewed you and you have shared about the zone technique, and this is your passion, and more power to that. But is there anything that people don't know of Dr. Peter that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, again, these things just pop in my head when you say it. So, a lot of my friends know I've done a lot of rough martial arts. I already referenced, being a top fighter in the world in the karate I mentioned. And then I also have a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, obviously that's kind of a rough thing to do. And I play ice hockey, which is kind of rough. But one thing people may not know is that I love what's called Ki Aikido. It's not Aikido, it's Ki Aikido, which was founded by a guy named Koichi Tohei. And the founder of Aikido, whose name was O-sensei in Japan, he only gave 1/10 degree black belt ever, and that was to Koichi Tohei. But Koichi Tohei broke off from regular Aikido because he said they weren't using the energy properly. And again, ki, the Japanese word for energy, they weren't really using their energy properly. And he showed a way to get in touch with your energy, and that's something that I study almost every day. And most of my friends who do rough martial arts are like, Pete, what are you doing that Aikido for? But I love it, and that's something a lot of people don't know. But it's a huge part of my life, and I recommend anyone reads any books by Koichi Tohei, Tohei.
Definitely put it down here, because I'm sure that it's a hard name to remember or visualize how it's spelled. So I know that obviously my brand has to do a lot about relationships, about getting deep with the things that we do not admit in public, but do hold us back from living our true purpose and sharing our true gifts with the world. And obviously, one of my things is relationships. Hence, how for every talk that I do, I give out my free ebook on the biggest tips to keeping your relationships as whole and as vibrant as ever. I call that like my heart account, because that's the true account you're going to take when we leave, right? We can accumulate a lot of things, but the true thing that is going to keep us are those relationships we have built. That's why I love interviewing people. Another one of my passions, because I'm building relationships right here with our audience. I'm blessing others with your knowledge just by asking you random questions, right? So you're sharing parts of yourself that probably you wouldn't have had the opportunity to share. So I love relationships, and I love talking about them. I've learned so much from them. And thank you for the people that are watching. We love being here and sharing our passions with you. Is there anything that you will say that has kept you keeping your relationships in your life strong in the middle of all this success?
I think the most important thing is sincerity, because people feel sincerity. If you're really insincere with your friends for long enough, they figure it out pretty quickly. And then all your interactions are just, what can you get from me? What can I get from you? But for example, like I have some friends that I know I could call them at 3 a.m. and they'd be like, half asleep. Hello, I'll be like, hey, I need you right now. And they'd be like, where do I have to go? I have a pretty long list of friends who I know would do pretty much anything for me, and that's a great feeling. So I think sincerity in your relationships and generosity, and people who actually get pleasure out of helping other people and seeing them be happy, it's a good foundation for friendship.
Yeah, I just feel that when you give, you always get back in return. So I work on my relationships, and talking about friends, I have friends that have been friends since I got to this country 30 years ago, and we're still friends. So we've seen it, and I know those are people that I could call again for any time, and they will be there because they know the true you. You can be totally vulnerable, and you're honest, obviously, and that builds you up, because those are the people in the middle of the storms that are really going to be there to lift you up, be there in the good and in the bad, and it's what will help us tackle all this kind of adventures that we call life, and all these different projects that we take on. But yes, I love your technique, and I can't wait to check it out. I'm going to have to do it, because I'm just very, very curious, and curiosity killed the cat, and it has killed me many times, but I think this time is going to be a blessing. So I thank you for being part of my Naked TikTok with Dr. A and sharing your passion with my audience. Definitely put the links below if you can, so you can check out this zone technique. I know I'm going to. I'm also going to put the link to my free ebook on the keys to relationships and how to keep working on the heart account and thriving in all the areas of your life. Thank you to everyone that has been there watching us, that has commented, that has put hearts. Definitely share with somebody that can be blessed with this knowledge, and share with your friends, and let us know how we can best serve you in which way. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Two things. One is zonetechnique.com. Check it out. I'd love to help you if you're a chiropractor. And second thing is, I'll either see you in Miami or San Francisco. So let's make plans.
Definitely, for sure this is going to be a date. I've been meaning to, and I need to call your friend again because I really want to make this happen. So, but thank you so much. I'm glad we got this going, and I'm glad we had this chat, and keep rocking it. You know, anything I can be of service to you, you let me know. And yes, let's make this world a better place. So, bye guys. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Bye-bye.